Hi, this is Gil Robles. I'm back with another video, and this is a gouache sketch that I did on my job. Now, I'm taking my time doing these sketches. I don't know if I can really call that. They're in my sketchbook, but I'm running like this is maybe 4 hours over a period of 4 days because I've done this on my lunch hour. So I'm just really just taking my time with this, and for that reason, on this first day, I'm not trying to finish this painting in one day. What I am doing right now is I'm working on the painting, and I'm not going to do any pencil preliminary drawing here. I'm just going to go ahead and do like a wash drawing, pretty much the way that I would handle it in if I were working in oils, which I used to do a lot of um, back in the days. But I work a lot more in gouache now, simply because gouache is a lot more portable. I can take it to work and use it at work. Um, it's not as expensive, and I started using gouache when my children were very young, and I didn't want to have the solvents and things all around them, so I used gouache instead. First it was watercolor, then I missed the opacity in working in oil paint, so I decided to go from watercolor to gouache. But I used to use gouache a lot in high school, and I can do this in gouache because, unlike watercolor, because of the opacity of the paint, I'm able to paint over it. So I can do this preliminary in wash. And in here, first of all, let me just say, I'm using a Stillman and Birn Delta Series sketchbook. It has a very, very thick paper. It's 9 by 12. It's a larger size sketchbook. And because of the thickness of the paper, it does not buckle as much. Now, I've used gouache on different types of paper. I've used gouache on thinner paper. However, I like using this paper for that reason, that it does not buckle. It does not buckle as much. I won't say it won't buckle at all, but at least it holds it holds up pretty well to the applications of paint and water and so forth, and it's a great surface to work on. So it's a Stillman and Birn Delta Series sketchbook, 9 by 12. And so what I'm concerned here with is basically just putting down three things. I'm concerned with the proportion and the placement, and then just the masses of light and dark. I'm not concerned with detail, and really I'm going very, very slow and deliberate with this, because I'm not trying to finish this thing in one day. Just putting down this wash, and like I said, just going after those three things: the placement, proportion, and masses of light and dark. So that's where I'm going on this first day with this painting, and then I'm going to, in this video, I'm just going to go through quickly the the 4 days, and just mention something briefly, and as far as what I'm looking to accomplish by the end of day. But it's mostly on this first day is all the important things, and then the second, third, and fourth day is really correcting and refining what I put down here. So it's very important for me to, even though it may not look like it, I'm trying to be as accurate as I possibly can, so that I won't have to worry about very much, at least the placement and the proportions. The masses of light and dark are always going to change. I'm just looking for the big major shapes and putting those down. But as far as the proportion and the placement of what it is that I'm painting, those will remain with some corrections. But the more accurate I am at the beginning, the less I'll have to worry about that at the end. And it's basically shape and refinement of the masses of light and dark. And you notice I'm not talking about detail. I'm not talking about placing any detail or anything like that, because that as I refine the masses of light and dark, the details will come through, but they won't be my, those details won't be my concern, almost not at all, other than to put little hints here and there of my darkest dark and my lightest light, and that those stronger accents will help bring out more details towards the end. But the details will be developing as I develop and refine these larger planes, and let those lead me into smaller and smaller ones. So I'm going to go ahead and speed up this video and let that take, and then I'll come back in and say what I need to when I feel the need. All right, so see you soon. All right, so right here you can see this is pretty close to the end of this first day here. I'm doing this, as I said, on my lunch hour at work, and so I only have 1 hour. This is a time that I keep to at my job, where I'm not sure how much time I have to paint from day to day, so I always try to keep a set time aside, and I keep that time sacred. I keep that time a very important time for me to get some work done. Now I may have time, and more often I do when I get home, to do some work, especially some digital work, but here at my job, this is the time I set aside to paint. So this is the end of my first day. You can see that this now I'm starting on the second day. You can see on my first day that I had pretty much said that what I was going to accomplish was just looking for major shapes of light and dark. Now there's some indications of color in there, but I'm not. It's very, very general. There's nothing final in that. And one of the things with when I work in this medium is that I will work in color. I would use the paint as well as the water. I use the water to blend and smooth down areas and so forth. So I use the water almost as much as I use the paint. But I like using very, very thick paint when it comes to gouache, because I want to be able to cover what's underneath and to cover most of the area quickly. So I'll go from thin to thicker paint depending on my confidence in the particular area, and so forth, and also what I want to cover. But on my palette, most of the paints that I've chosen on my palette, I've chosen because after working with gouache for some time, like I said, I've worked with gouache since high school. What I've come to like is the colors that can cover well. So over time, I go through colors. I include those that cover well, and I take away those that don't. And also, I've changed my palette based on the color's light fastness. Light fastness means simply that the color will not fade over time as it's exposed to light. And so you can read that on the labels of the colors that you buy. One color that is not that is called fugitive because it's not very light fast is a color like alizarin crimson. Alizarin crimson will fade over time. So I used to have that among the colors that I use, but what happened over time is that I excluded it because I learned about fugitive colors, and I've learned that it's not light fast, and so I replaced it with another red. Now there's also permanent alizarin crimson. I don't know if it works as well as the original because it was a great color to use. I like the way it mixes with colors like ultramarine blue and white, and it would give you a purple, and you can go between it being more red, therefore more warm, and it being more blue and therefore more cool, and you can play with the colors that way, and it was great to use, but because alizarin crimson was fugitive, I decided to take it out of my palette. I don't know if the alizarin crimson permanent works as well, but it would be a thing that I would have to experiment with. But that's pretty much it for right now, so I'm just going to go ahead and let this painting go ahead and speed up as it's doing anyway, and I will talk to you as the need arises. Okay, so right here, this is nearing the end of the second day. And so this second day, I focused on just thinking about refining the shapes, and also starting to think about color and putting that down. At this point, I'm not thinking that this is painting is going to take 4 days or so. I don't know how long it was going to take, but what I wasn't going to do was going to rush right through it. So this is what I was able to accomplish on this day, thinking again of shapes and color. So this is now the third day. And the third day, I pretty much have everything down. Like I said in the beginning, the three things that I was concerned about was the masses of light and dark, the placement and the proportion. Okay, so I'm not having to worry about placement and proportion. That is all set. All the I feel like the you know, the placement is where it's going to be, and the axis of the head, the eyes, the nose, and the mouth and ears, everything is lining up. So I'm not so concerned about all of those. Now, that doesn't mean that I won't go back into it and make some refinements as I go along, but that's what I'm doing for the rest of this painting. Is I'm basically refining what and correcting what I have down. Now, there'll be subtle corrections and a great deal of refinement, especially when it comes to color and the shapes inside. In particular, I'm not sure at this point. I wasn't sure about the neck and how it all works. How that shape is not working out at this point. Because it doesn't fully explain the neck. It makes it look like it's very thin, when to the left, on just below her chin, that this kind of triangle area is still part of her neck, and it doesn't show how the shadow connects to that part. I'm not sure if I'm explaining that correctly, but right now it almost looks like her neck is too thin based just on the shadow. So, but I'm going to, like I said, refine and make corrections as I go along. And though at some point I saw that, I didn't have an answer right away. So I continued to work on the painting. Sometimes when you work on different areas, you can come back to that area which is giving you trouble. Sometimes you will see it as you work on different things. You don't have to stay stuck in one area, fuming over the fact that you can't resolve that. So I'm hoping that as I go along and I keep coming back to it, that I would find some resolution for that area. But yeah, this is where it stands right now on this being the third day. Okay, so right now this is the fourth and final day of working on this painting, and you can see I've gotten pretty far in this painting. I might have almost considered it finished, but there are still some things that bother me about it. I just felt like I needed to refine it some more, and also a good idea is to you have an opportunity to go to the people around you and just ask an opinion. I mean, we don't always have to go to artist friends. We can ask someone who's just going to view the painting as a viewer. I mean, we want our paintings to be appreciated by everyone. So there are times where I ask my wife or I ask my kids, what do they think of the painting? My kids are 18 and 19, so they're pretty old, pretty much older, and they can give their opinions. And so can my wife. None of them are artists, even though my youngest son likes to draw from time to time anyway. But I ask an opinion because they view paintings, so they can at least tell me what they like about it or what they don't like. Now, when someone gives an opinion, it's important to respect it, but it's not something that you have to take. It's something that you should consider. Because they view the painting, so they maybe what they see or what they don't see or what can give you an idea of where to go. One of the things my wife had pointed out was she was confused by the lower half of the painting, why it looked so unfinished. The lower half of the painting didn't really concern me, but I understand that maybe I might work a little bit more on it to finish it. I mean, it looked, I put so much into her face, and the bottom half looks so rough. So, which I can see the contrast there and why it might bother someone. So I took that into consideration as I go into this day, and that was something that I was going to refine a little bit more. But then again, I also told myself I wasn't going to put so much into it either. But because there's a lot to do here, the ear concerns me. And right now, working on little things here and there. A lot of it is just little tweaks, little refinements, because of what I did at the beginning. The biggest concerns were taken care of. Again, the masses of light and dark, the placement, the proportion, these big things. So the painting is down really in terms of those things, but what's left to do is the refinement in the shapes and the colors, and that was the thing that I continued to do throughout each day, because those major things were taken care of in that first day. pretty much this is it. I've come to the end of the 4th day and pretty much the end of the painting that I have been working on, and I've accomplished just as much as I can with this. Now, when I look at my paintings later on down the line, I might find after living with it for a little while that there's some things that I should have changed, or some things that I should have done, or something. Sometimes I would make those changes. Other times I'll just leave it as it is, because one of the things that I really try to shoot for is that whatever I do, is this my best effort at the time. Now, I'm going to continue to grow as I paint. One of the reasons why I kept this gouache sketchbook was that I made it a goal to make each painting better than my last. Now, that's what I shoot for. I may not always get it, but that's what I shoot for, because I want my handling of the paint, my understanding of drawing and painting to grow with each painting. So I push to make things better than I did the last time. And I try to stay consistent with it. This is why I set this time aside every day. So anyway, as far as this painting is concerned, I've taken the refinements to as much as I want to go with it. I don't feel the need to carry the lower half of the painting all the way to the end of the page. I'm fine with it, because even though I spent a lot of time on this, I'm still thinking of this mostly as a sketch. So that's it. If you like this video, please go ahead and hit like, or consider subscribing. I have plenty of more videos on traditional as well as digital work that I do. Also, if you want to continue to support this channel, I do have a Patreon page, which I will leave a link to below, and just below this video you'll see some merchandise, t-shirts and so forth that pertain to this channel, especially the artist quotes and so forth. But all of this will go in supporting this channel, and thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.